lighting was gonna be fine, and now it's not. Therefore, that is better. So just give me one moment here. And hopefully my light doesn't run out of battery, because that would kind of be bad. But I believe, am I all live? Am I properly all live? Yes, I am properly all live. Okay, so everything's a bit delayed. And I'm still kind of learning how to live stream, so some things are gonna be a bit weird. But I don't know how to fix it yet, so it's just gonna be like that. Why? Normally I do not have issues with my camera, and then the live is different. I should probably plug in my light. I'm not sure. So I'm just kind of getting everything set up while I wait for people. I believe I have chat live on here. I think I have it. I hope. Since I don't have classes, why not just do a live stream when I would normally have classes? Because that totally makes sense. But I get a 5-day weekend, which I am pretty hype about, except I have some homework, so it's not quite a normal 5-day weekend, but I am pretty happy about it nonetheless. My sister is moving about the house. I'm pretty happy about that, so that's pretty cool. I'm just gonna check that all my settings are proper here. Yes, I do have the chat set up, but nobody's here yet. Are you? Oh, correction, someone is here yet. Are you a teacher or a student? I am a student in high school. I'm a junior this year. But my entire family is actually in school at the moment, because my mom's a teacher and my dad normally just does IT, but this year he's teaching a college class, and then my sister's in school as well. So we all have to like be up early and exist for classes. But yeah, we're switching from digital back to hybrid, which I feel like we're gonna end up going back digital quite rapidly. So I am not very going to they're super like time in classes, because it doesn't make any sense that they're trying to like, and then like why must this be the system? I'm going to plug in the light, because I do not trust the light not to die on me. So and clip that there. And unplug the phone charger. Do not drop the phone charger into the void. And light is successfully plugged in. And there we go. Dropping the phone charger into the void would not be good. Because then I would need to like move my bed in order to get it again, so it would just be gone forever. I can't see how many people are watching right now, because I'm using a third-party app that I've not 100% learned how to use. So I don't know if it's just one person. Streaming settings, can I? Nope, don't want that. How about editor layers? Is there alert box, maybe. That's what I want. I just want the alert box widget, I guess. I don't want... Ah, there we go. And then just make that way smaller. There, is that gonna... Can I see now? Streamlabs is difficult. It's not super difficult, but it is like difficult to learn any new editing, a new type of editing. Weird name. I think it's just like thumbnail maker for YouTube or something. I used like the first apps that pop up on search, and it's like eventually I'm gonna have to learn how to do a legit editing software. But it is weird. You can do everything off your phone. It's like if you're willing to learn a convoluted enough process, you can do anything from your phone. Because I thought I had to wait for a live stream to get to like 1,000 subscribers, which at this rate is gonna like reply to a comment. And I do think, you know, how I'm quite, in addition to doing the like normal edited type videos, I think it could be fun to do like a short live stream more regularly. Probably wouldn't be every day, but yeah, I'm not quite sure, but I do plan to incorporate streams in the future. Why can I still not see if I put that there? What if I put it there? How about that? I still can't see. It's just like you have one viewer. I refuse to show you. Yeah, like I said, still trying to learn how on earth to use this. I'm sorry if the camera is shaking a lot. If I don't... Oh wait, can I make the chat box show on stream? No, I want that to be shown. Yes. Can I... Okay, if I say showing and then put it somewhere not obnoxious, can I see, please? I'd very much appreciate to be able to see that. Take your time. So, since you showed up for the live stream, that means you probably are actually kind of paying attention to some content things. So what do you think could be improved? This is where it's gonna be like 2 minutes of latency before I can actually read. Enjoy. Just, I feel like the Jeopardy thing of like, it used to be when you ask a question, it'd be like the Jeopardy theme, because like everyone knows it, so and so it's like everyone would just be like do 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 do. But now I feel like it's just shifted to the Wii theme. Oh, you're not. I expected like one person. It would be like someone. I'm very surprised that my live like popped up as like anything. Well, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I'm glad you're here and you thought it would be interesting enough to join. I'm sorry you got a live stream with someone who has no clue what they're doing. Are you like fellow small I'm not even a small YouTuber, like nano YouTuber. Because the nano YouTuber communities are quite fun. Like it is one thing of kind of like you see the other people who are like making content with like 15 subscribers, and then occasionally you just like stumble upon a gold mine of like a couple of people who did subscribe are the like really small YouTubers where they actually have videos, but like don't barely have any subscribers, and it's sad because I'm like, oh, like you're putting effort into your content, but then it's like stuff, just like topics I'm completely uninterested in. Like one person who subscribed to me is like, I do and plays Roblox. So it's all been different. Like I know a lot of people want to start channels, and my entire thing is just like yeah. Some people aren't made to be popular. Yeah, it's I wouldn't say so much of like just yeah, it shows up. There's a latency in the comments. It's like so about like some people aren't meant to be popular. It's I don't know. I see it kind of like it's more nuanced. People recognizing you or anything like that. Like if you don't want your family to see your channel, then like it's kind of doomed from the start a little bit. Because then it's like, well, who's going to be your initial like supporters? Um, but also like a lot of channels, I think anything if you put enough time and energy into it, it will eventually grow. Now that time and energy might be something you are completely unwilling to dedicate, which is also a thing of like you need to think about what other things are going on in your life and how important it is to you. Cause like for me, like I'm testing it out and it's like it would be like super awesome if like while I'm in school and it actually becomes like a viable like career path. It's like that'd be awesome is to make a living off of making like stupid videos on the internet. Like it's not a good plan. It's like still like go to college, like find a normal job. Anyone who does not have a channel and they're like your stuff is not gonna blow up just because you make good stuff. And your stuff is not as good as you think it is. It's like I've edited a couple videos of like, okay, this is absolutely like gold. Like everyone's gonna love it, and I look at the retention. It's it's not the quantity, it's quality. Yeah, even if you spend enough time making content and making good content, it is not just hours of content that you put out there. Um, you can put out hundreds of hours of content, and if it's absolute trash, no one's gonna watch it. But if you and once again, it might be so much time that is impossible to YouTube that would take years and years and years of practice, and you are either not willing or not able to dedicate that. But it's like anything has a barrier to become good. And it's like that's where like everyone kind of needs to find what they're good at. Because like if I wanted to be a like world class gymnast, it would take so many years of practice that I would have like arthritis by the time like I am too old to start. I do not have the genetics nor the just straight up practice when you're super young. And it's kind of that way with like video stuff of you do need to have a certain personality to be able to handle it. Um, and that's just something I've been like decent at. Like this is actually not my first channel attempt. And I've also done speech and stuff before this. And so it's all such good life experience. But you are right. It's partially quantity and it's partially quality, and quality is more important. I would say I don't know. It's quite close. Of like once you achieve a certain level of quality, it takes, and then you need to there like particular YouTube of like if you have like a something that goes because some things go viral for no reason. Of like some people just like take a video of their dog and they're like, oh, this is funny, and then it goes absolutely viral, even though there are hundreds of dog videos out there. Um, and some people like film for years and years and nothing ever happens. Uh, so yeah, there is luck, and there's also using statistics to your advantage. Because like I did stats class because just math and statistics and real life math is super interesting to me, and so it's one of those things like okay, like if you just upload a video, you have X minuscule percentage of going absolutely viral, of like 0.0000001% of going viral. But if you post 50 videos, those odds are multiplied by 50, and yeah, like there's luck, but there's using using the facts to your advantage. And then faith has a big role in what you want and can achieve. Is once again, in context of YouTube, if you believe you will succeed, then I think that really helps your presentation a lot. Kind of like when I make videos, I make it as if I'm speaking to every future viewer rather than being like, yep, this is gonna get 5 views today. I'm like, this will eventually get a lot of views, but I carry myself. And the age of Zoom has made it a bit easier to talk to a camera. Because I'm so used to like a bunch of people being on the other side of that screen. Of like, I'm Zooming for hours a day for school. And so it's like you get more used to it. And facts can be misleading. Yes, facts can be very misleading. If you look at the current news cycle, it is absolutely ridiculous. There are misleading statistics everywhere. And it goes both ways as well. You know, if I looked for it, I'm sure I could find statistics on either side of pretty much any issues. It's like, yep, there are a million statistics that that the virus is like real and important and like it's it's something we need to worry about. And then there are also a million statistics like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's like, why are we shutting down the entire planet? And it's like there is at least a little bit of truth in everything, even in the most ridiculous internet like falsehoods. There's a tiny bit of truth. You know, like, what's something absolutely ridiculous? Like, even if you say like, you know, the Earth is flat, it's like you could find some statistics or facts that indicate the Earth is flat. Are they misleading? Definitely. But it's like there's a tiny bit of truth to it. On the ground, the Earth is flat. But if there's a tiny bit of truth in everything, and statistics are used to lie all the time, which is why I think it's very important. I think statistics should be mandatory instead of like calculus or something. So pie charts have been used wrong so often. It's like you'll see it on like the news, like on like a very reputable place, and they'll use a pie chart and it'll add up to like 312%. And it's like, I don't think you understand how pie charts work. That's not how pie charts work. It's supposed to add to 100. And it'll just be like, you know, people who used Instagram, people who use TikTok, people who use YouTube, and like, you know, people who use like Twitter. And it's like, it adds up to like some ridiculous amount. It's like, well, of course it does, because most people use multiple of those sites. So there's so many dumb statistics being misused. And the fact that news is very based on like clicks right now is really bad. Like, basically news out there, so people won't pay for a subscription. Therefore, every news source, it needs to recapture that audience. It doesn't matter if it's true. It just matters that it's sensational and that it's fast. And so then you kind of force a lot of news sources to be very manipulative in their storytelling because they need to get the clicks, and people like negative news, people like sensational stuff, people like, you know, you'll never guess what this candidate is doing, and it's like, that's not even true. It's like, it doesn't matter that it's not true. You know, they could say like aliens are attacking New York, and then the actual story would be like, well, no, they aren't. You know, we do have this new bacterial infection from, you know, that's from Canada, so like, you know, technically it's like, that's like, and what are you gonna do about it? It's kind of why I don't pay a lot of attention to the news cycle of like when there is a big event. Instead of normally following one channel, I will just not pay any attention to the news except for what people tell me and then if there's some big event that everyone's telling me about, then I go and like do more research about it and get more opinions and look at the source, and that'll tell me everything. It's like, well, that'll tell you everything from one perspective. So instead it's like, I don't need to know about every political thing that's going on because not a whole lot impacts check your sources. Like, that's just one good thing school teaches you is, like, you know, cite your sources. Because, yeah, just sources are... Because here's the thing, on the internet, especially on the internet, it's very important to check your sources. Because if you're, like, reading a book, it's like they had to get published. But on the internet, anyone can put anything out there. It's like, I am just a random idiot, which I don't, but if I wanted to, I could be putting out a ton of misinformation and just being like, well, like, you know, the earth is flat, Illuminati is running the government, and it's like, I could do that. It's like, anyone can do that. That's part of the good thing about the internet, because anyone can put out anything they want to, and so you have a lot of people correcting information, which is why Wikipedia is actually quite a good source. But there's also a ton of people putting out misinformation, and a ton of people just trying to get clicks and go viral, and they don't care about how much they have to lie in order to do it. There are, like, a lot of people who just make up celebrity gossip just to kind of, like, just to be the instigator of it, just to get a lot of, like, clicks and stuff. Which, I mean, I think there's nuance to it, of, like, if there's, like, actually, like, celebrity gossip, it's like, okay, it's like, I don't care. It's like, there are people trying to keep up with the Kardashians, and I couldn't care less, but it's like, fine, like, if you're gonna, like, spill the tea, but it's like, you can't just make stuff up. Like, there's so much real stuff that's so ridiculous it doesn't seem true. You don't need to make up anything in order to come up with interesting things. Or, also, for entertainment, which is basically what celebrity gossip is, no one cares if it's true or not. Like, you could literally just, like, put a thing, like, in the middle of your video, or, like, at the end of the video or something, and just be like, hey, this is all made up, and it wouldn't really change anything. Like, all of my shower thoughts videos, it's like, that's kind of how it is. It's like, I don't expect anyone to actually think, you know, some of these ridiculous things are actually true, of the, like, oh, Karens are aliens. It's like, I don't expect anyone to actually believe that Karens are actually aliens. It's just a stupid thought. Yeah, just don't keep up with the news. Just the stuff that goes viral as well. Like, you can hear about it in general, it's, especially if you're in school, it's like, teachers tell you about news, if anything big is going on, friends, family, like, social media. Like, if there's some big event, it's going to be all over social media, regardless of if you follow any news. And that's a weird thing of, like, celebrity gossip. It's like, I don't follow that whatsoever. It's like, I couldn't care less about, you know, what the Kardashians are doing, or what so-and-sos are doing, or why, like, you know, so-and-so is angry at so-and-so. It's like, I couldn't care less. It still shows up in different video feeds and everything. In this era, you cannot be on the internet and completely ignore news. So I basically know it's a big deal if all of the news stations are talking about it. Now they're impeaching Trump again. It's like, okay, so, like, the first time they were, like, impeaching Trump, it's like, everyone talked about it. Like, everyone was like, oh my goodness, this hasn't, like, happened in so long. It's like, okay. It's like, what, like, okay, and, like, I looked at it, and it's like, okay, like, basically, they're still angry at Trump, as they have been forever. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's, like, great. It's like, not like it really has much of any impact on my life. That's a weird thing. It's like, the president is, like, such a huge thing, and it's like, for 99.9% of people, it barely impacts your life whatsoever. I'm not from America. Oh, good for you. America is a mess at the moment. So, like, good plan to, yeah, just, I mean, unless you're just watching it for the drama, but, yeah, Trump is basically a character. I mean, he was, like, on a reality TV show, so yeah, he plays the media, and so the media got very, very spun up. It's funny, because Trump is no longer president, and yet the media is still obsessing over Trump, and it's like, he's not the president anymore, and then they're like, nah, we're not gonna focus on Biden, like, we're gonna impeach Trump again. So yeah, be happy you're not in America because everything is like bad. Um, I mean, it's all the virus stuff on top of like all the like political nonsense. Um, which yeah, in Minneapolis the political nonsense was a bit scarier. It's mostly blown over, but yeah, it. Oh, one thing that I find kind of funny is like I'm just learning about a ton of world history things now, and it's like the rest of the world is quite educated about America, and America is completely clueless about the rest of the world. It's like if you ask me like anything about like who's the leader of France, it's like I would have no clue. It's like I'm I have nothing. It's like I'm learning about the French Revolution. We haven't gotten to modern day leaders yet. It's like the rest of the world like kind of has a clue of like what's going on in America. I think the stereotype that we're completely uneducated about the rest of the world is unfortunately quite true. And yeah, I'm not a particularly good example. I have very little history knowledge and very little like world knowledge. So yeah, it's just America is a mess. I mean, the entire world's kind of a mess at the moment, but America is just particularly constantly like a mess. Um, I guess that's kind of democracy though. You can't like kind of a Hobbes and Locke type thing. It's I don't think people are naturally hateful or loving. I think people are naturally chaotic. Of like some people left to their own devices will be super like loving and giving and do all these good things, but some people will just be super chaotic. So of course, the world is informed of the America stuff. America, China, and Russia. Um, yeah, depending on. Um, Unfortunately, I think a lot of the time America is a force of evil rather than good. Um, yeah, it's not always great when you're in the ranks of China and Russia on the world stage. But I mean, that's kind of what America is. That's it's weird that like on the scale of history, like America is quite a young country, and it's such a like big role on the world stage, and then it's kind of it's like America kind of acts like its own little ecosystem because geographically and socially it's such a big place, but it's also so similar. Of like if you go 100 miles in America, it's like you're in the same state. Um, like I'm trying to think. Like I think you could like in Minnesota, I think you could drive like 300 miles and still. I don't want to wait. I'm trying. I know you can drive like 3 hours and still very much be in Minnesota. Um, it's obvious. America is at least obviously evil. That is kind of true. I feel like America tries to not be evil and then we just fail. But at least our government is a bit more open than or our citizens are a bit more open. The government still tries to keep their secrets, but the citizens will find them and show them to everyone. But yeah, like America is such a big place of like I don't even have a passport. I've never been outside the country, and yet you can see such a wide range of things of like in one road trip you can go from like rolling fields of corn to like rivers to prairies to like mountains and canyons, um, and like the ocean. And it's like in like a straight line, um, which is yeah, it's YouTube comments. I didn't really expect much grammar. Have you ever seen like Your Grammar Sucks from like Jack's Films? Like that gets that gets kind of funny. Of it's like there are a few things where it's like yep, grammar completely changes what you're saying, but most of the time it's pretty pretty easy to distinguish. Yeah, this is this is supposed to just be about school, and it ended up just being like America on the world stage. Um, yeah, it's but one thing like kind of looping back to school is America. The American school system is weird. Of kind of like we spend a lot of time in both school and work compared to the rest of the rest of the world, and yet we are not doing very well for like test scores. And I think a lot of that is like I think a lot of school districts need more funding because even my school district, which is pretty like well resourced, well funded, um, and like we have pretty like crowded classes. Like some of my classes are up to like 30 something. My first language is not English. You're doing great for first language is not English. That's that's the Arabic. Like the rest of the world is like most of the rest of the world knows English as a second or third or fourth language, and then meanwhile America is like, I know Spanish, and then they know like 3 words. It's like I'm in Spanish 5, and I've learned not a whole lot. I think I could hold a conversation for about 30 seconds before I'd completely have nothing. Like I'd get to like, hello, how are you? I am good. Okay, bye. Like that's kind of it. Yeah, learning a second language is hard, especially I mean Spanish and English are not even that dissimilar. Like at least you have a lot of cognates to work with, and like the grammar is quite similar. It's just kind of the big thing is the masculine feminine pronouns, and then or masculine feminine nouns, and the it's almost as if everything's backwards. I know Spanish. Just soy era un biblioteca. Like people, and it's like, no, I don't think that means what you think it means. Oh, one false cognate that my teacher like told us about, and it was really funny. Is lots of people think embarrasa means embarrassed, but it actually means pregnant. So it's like, oh yeah, that's a false cognate. Don't don't mix up your don't use false cognates. Um, like she also talks about like Spanglish of people will just pretend like every word is a cognate. It's like sometimes you come across a cognate, but not all the time. Like I actually one thing that kind of helps me with vocab is being able to reverse engineer because a lot of times it's a cognate to a higher vocabulary word. I'm trying to think of a good example. But every now and then, like I'll get one, and it's like, oh, I bet the meaning is like such and such, and then it's like, and then the teacher will just say a more simple form of such and such. I'm like, so it means such and such. Like, what's a good? I can't think of a good example. Oh, like one was like congelador was it meant like freezer, and I thought like cooler. It's like okay, like that's an easier cognate to remember. Sup. Um, so yeah, the school system is flawed, and it's like I've been someone who's like relatively good at school, like forever, and even I am like struggling quite a bit during digital. And it's like I was like GT in elementary school, which barely means anything. I think if anything, it just falls down to being more like well resourced. It's like I have two like very smart parents who like know who can handle pretty much any subject, and it's like like that's the school system, and it should not be that you need that in order to learn. But unfortunately, that's kind of how it is a lot of the time, and that needs to be fixed. But I don't know how to fix it. But I think the current hybrid system is not how you fix it. Um, oh, what grade is junior? Junior is 16 and 17-year old. And yes, I am very much a teacher's pet. I have been a teacher's pet since like for forever, and I will probably be a teacher's pet forever. Yeah, so junior is like 16, 17 years old, which is 11th grade with the American school system. So it's the year before your senior year, which is just your last year of high school. and then it's college, which is optional education, basically. I don't know how it translates to other places. I want to say it's like, yeah, I can't remember. I don't know how it translates, but yeah. So it's basically it's your second to last year of regular school. But also other places have like college so differently. Of like in a lot of places, their high school is basically a college, and it doesn't translate very well. But I just almost died. Just, hopefully, you're not just dying by watching a live stream. um, yeah, the school system is just very like it's tricky. It's and I don't know how really to deal with it because um, do, do not fall into sharp objects. Falling onto sharp objects is bad. Do not keep sharp objects close to your bed. I think that's the solution. Um, that being said, funny story. So my room is like halfway underground just because my house is built on a hill, and so um, on the floor I get kind of like mildew type issues. So we're like, oh, if we since my bed is designed with it has like drawers underneath, so it doesn't have normal like bedposts, and we're like, oh, we should prop it up so that there's more like airflow underneath, and hopefully there will be like less mildew issues. And so we're like, okay, so we propped up my bed on bricks, and it's like the first like 4 days, like every morning, I'm like like every morning it would be like several inches higher than I'm used to it being, and I was like think I'm about to die, and then it took me like 3 days, and I got used to it, and then we moved it down again after replacing my floor, and then it was just like, oh, the floor is higher than I was expecting. It's like when you get to the bottom step and you expected there to be another step, and you're just like, wait, like what just happened? Yeah, it's we DIY'd my room floor. It used to be all carpet, and then we like ripped it all out and then replaced it with the like it's like Legos for adults, where it's the vinyl plank flooring. Um, it's the vinyl plank flooring, and I mean put that in. That was like a 3 day project. Are you a small town? Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. I don't know. I live in the suburbs and have lived in the suburbs my entire life, so I don't think that quite counts as small town. It's like my neighbors are like 50 feet away. But yeah, that's funny. I it's like whenever teachers like, so have you ever moved in your life? I'm like, well, technically, but also no, um, because when I was like really young, like my parents like closed on the house like before I was born, and then like we moved like a little bit after that. So it's like I was like a couple months old. It's like we moved literally like a block. It's like I can walk to where my old house was, so it's kind of like, well, I don't think that really counts. I don't have a story. It's like some people like move from another country or like at least like another state, and then they just move like super far. You're American. Can you explain to me what the difference between a city and a town? I'm not really like sure what the difference is like technically, but colloquially, a city is just a much like larger group, and a town is a much smaller group. So like a town would be like if you have like a population of like couple thousand. Um, like a town is the kind of place where you would have like houses and like a gas station and like a couple stores and then like nothing much. And then like farms. And a city would be where you have these like giant like skyscraper buildings and more of a commercial area. And then the suburb is just kind of in between. Um, like a city and a town where you just have like neighborhoods and it's more like a residential area, and city is more where you would work, and town is usually more residential but also often more agriculture based, if that makes sense. um, this is really interesting of just like these seem like simple questions but then they're not, and then there's like weird English things like what is the difference between this and this, and it's like I don't know. um, yeah, that is really interesting. I've had those like stupid moments in like Spanish. I'm like, what's the difference? Like one time I was talking to a friend and her first language is Spanish and she was like learning English, and we had like she was so confused that in English we don't have a word for amigo. Like she was like, okay, so it's like there's like amiga, amigo, and in English that just translates to friend. And then she was like, well, there's novia and novio, which is like girlfriend, boyfriend. So she was super confused. Like, we don't have an English word for friend who is a boy. It's like we don't have that distinction. And so she's like how do you what do you do in English? And I'm like, we usually just say friend boy, which is not grammatically correct, but at least it doesn't get confused for boyfriend. But yeah, that was a very confusing thing. English is just 3 languages wearing a trench coat pretending to make sense. That like English doesn't make sense. Like I've spoken it my entire life, it doesn't make sense. I can't spell for anything. It's like I've just recently, like in high school, like realized like, oh, I've kind of learned the grammar rules a little bit. Of like I used to write like I would never use punctuation. It would just be like one big sentence, like the entire paragraph, and then my dad's like, this is very much a run-on sentence. Now I've actually like learned how to punctuate, and I'm working on like semicolons and like that nonsense. It's like spelling, I cannot spell for anything. I spell so poorly it tries to autocorrect to Spanish. You should invent a word that will replace boyfriend. No, we have a word for boyfriend. It's that we need a word for friend boy. I just say like, you know, I don't know. It's just a weird thing because it's because I don't know. Like part of me is like it's really stupid that we need that distinction. Um, so yeah, it's but it like the gendered nouns thing in other languages is so weird. Like it takes so much getting used to. Because like in English, it's just like everything is like the, it, like there is no like why is the table feminine? Like why? Like oh, one thing that confused me in Spanish so much is that the word dress, which is vestido, is masculine. Man friend, perfect. Like vestido is masculine, which is dress, and so like everyone was like, oh, la vestida, and it's like no, it's el vestido. It's like, but it's dress. Like why is the verb masculine? And like in English, at least, we don't need to deal with the gendered nouns, but we have words from like so many other places, so things get pronounced completely differently. Like that's one thing. Like after if I've been like writing Spanish for a while and I try and write English, it's like ths. I just try and replace them with f's, or ph's. I will try and replace with f. Like phone. After I've been writing in Spanish, I will just like be like phone. It's like wait, no, that's not right. Like something's wrong. Like there are some words. There are some super simple words that I will routinely misspell despite knowing how to spell them. Like if I'm just writing something quickly, I almost always mistype because, even though like I know how to spell it, but I'll always like mistype it. Or like door, I don't know why. Like it's 4 letters. It's like the simplest word. It's like kindergartners know how to spell it. But whenever like I'm writing it out, I try and write dore. It's like that's not right. It's door. But I keep trying to write dore. So basically, to summarize, I did not deserve to be in the GT program in elementary school. I was not gifted or talented. That being said, like my entire like elementary school, it's like my entire class. Like it was just, I think they wanted the parents to feel better, like that their kid was smart, and so they're just like, like you know, go with the GT kids. And then in high school, you just kind of get hit with like, I cannot do all honors. you don't have a funny accent, does that mean you're from the west part of America? Well, actually, I don't know. I have been to a lot of different places with like accents. Though I don't think the Minnesotan accent is particularly pronounced compared to other places. It's definitely not in pop culture much. Um, but Minnesota is kind of north, like just north central, in America. We're that tiny little state that has a tiny part that's supposed to be in Canada but isn't, right by the Great Lakes. So the only Minnesotan accent type things is we have a couple different words, that we typically use, and there's the like long O thing, but like that's not like I don't really notice that. Like I'm trying to think of like a word that like the jokes like Minnesota. It's like nobody says that. It's like everyone's like it's Minnesota. So yeah, it is. That is weird. It's like I went to Memphis, Memphis, Tennessee, and that's like like down south, and it's like they all speak like they're from down south, and then there everyone was immediately like you're not from here, and then we're like yeah, big shock, like we're from up north, and like everyone was like like you're from up north. It's weird because I kind of adopted the southern accent for like that week, which is really weird. I don't know what it is. I tend to like adopt like accents and different terms like very quickly. It's like if I'm hanging out with someone, it's like I will start to adopt their vocabulary, and then it's like weird. Like my parents like since when did you start saying that? It's like I don't know. So I'm pretty sure if I ever like move somewhere that I would probably end up quite quickly getting a funny accent, but I just checked where's Minnesota. Um, no, Minnesota is not in the east. So the east is all the like big cities. Minnesota is like the least memorable state, aside from maybe like I don't like Iowa or Nebraska, but those are all in the Midwest. Normally we're called the Midwest, which I guess kind of makes sense because the West was less compact than the East. Um, but yeah, we're just in the like basically like the big states. It's that section of the map. If I don't have a map or anything. I could. Oh wait, I know what I could do. I can pull up a map. That'd be kind of a fun little thing. So let's just change it to. I'll do screen, and put a little. If I can. No, let me. Give me just a moment while I argue with my editor here. In order to try and show. Okay. Why is that? No, Okay, wait, can I just... Let's remove the camera for just a moment here. And then that should go to screen. There we go. Okay, you should be seeing my screen now. And if I do that, and then go here... And then I'll just look up US map. And if I do that, then okay, that's why that one looks like it was drawn. There we go. So no, didn't even do that. Okay, so there is Minnesota, a pretty forgettable state. The ones people know, we have Florida, Texas, California, New York, so it kind of goes around the perimeter. That being said, Minnesota is the favorite of the Midwest, so yeah, it's right by the Great Lakes. Ta-da! So, where I live is in the Twin Cities, which is where, like, some ridiculous percentage of Minnesota lives. I think it's like 90% lives in the Twin Cities area, which is right by St. Paul and Minneapolis, which lots of people think our capital is Minneapolis. It's not. It's St. Paul. So ta-da! I know they force me to know all of the state capitals, but they don't like make me know anything else about the rest of the world. So let's go back to add layer, add camera. Yes, I wish to go back to that. Should that? Well, I need to fix my chat again. Nope, that didn't work. I shouldn't have ever messed with it. Editor, camera, and show on stream. Is it back now? Did that fix it? I don't need the alert box. Don't care. Go away. Okay, ta-da! Fixed it. You don't need to. It will not be involved. that sounds oddly ominous. Like, you don't need to know about the rest of the world. Yeah. With that being said, I mean, you really don't need to know your random like state trivia for getting a normal job. Oh, that's another interesting thing of like all the normal teenage jobs have like not been impacted by the virus whatsoever. Which makes it kind of feel like a little silly that it's like just the ones that the whatchamacallit, the like essential industries. I think that's what they're like calling it, but basically all the like essential jobs of they're like, yeah, this like needs to happen. And it'll include like fast food. It's kind of just like, yep, that's gonna be a lot of teenagers. Like retail, like I basically work in fast food, which is just a very, very basic job, which the interview process was way easier than school told me to expect. They're like, you're going to need a resume, and they're going to want to know about your volunteer hours, and, like, they're going to, like, you know, care about your grades, like, they're going to be, like, checking with people. It's like, nah. It's like my interview was, like, 5 minutes, and, like, the general manager was just like, so, it's like, you know, do you have your driver's license? Like, do you, you know, it's like, you don't have, like, a criminal record or anything, right? Like, you know, will you show up to work? It's like, you filled out the applications, like, you're hired. And now I have, like, barely any hours, so, but, you know, it doesn't matter, because I get a discount, so it's, like, fine by me to be getting, like, 3 hours a week. Feels kind of stupid, but like that's cool. Yeah, lucky me, I get to go to work tomorrow. You know, coldest Valentine's Day and like records. It's like, yep, I'm sure so many people are gonna be like going out and like we don't even have drive-through. It's like you have to like walk in and it's like I'm totally sure that so many people are gonna show up. But it's like everyone has to work, so. In fast food, they will hire anyone. Yes. The turnover is quite quick. I think we've hired more people than have left, which is like kind of weird. I think like since I started working there, it's like 7 people have been hired, and like 3 people have left. Which it's quite a small store. It's like our minimum staffing. Like our staffing goes from like you'll have like minimum like 2 people on a shift to like maximum like maybe 7. And it's like that's like it. It's like yeah, the turnover is pretty quick. That being said, at least it's like I don't know. Like part of me is like oh like I don't trust stuff anymore because it's kind of like oh like there's some random teenager that's like preparing it, but also everything is so idiot proofed that it's like, unless you are maliciously trying to do something wrong, it's awfully difficult to have anything wrong because there are instructions everywhere of how to do the things. It's like there's nothing that's like not cooked already. Like there's so many instructions. Like all the shelf life is set to be like way shorter than it is. Do your colleagues spit in sandwiches? No, we have to wear masks. And we actually don't do sandwiches. We do pizza, but it's take and bake pizza, which is kind of weird. Um, but yeah, like people follow the general rules. Like I can't think of any, like nothing egregious has happened. There's probably been some like very minor errors of like something got left out past its date, but all the dates are set very conservatively. So it's like everyone like wears gloves. Everyone like we have to wear masks, so that would make it significantly more difficult to like spit in the food. But also, no one's like spiteful. It's like people aren't gonna be randomly spiteful. It's like even the most like ridiculous orders. It's kind of like okay, guess we'll make that, even though you could make it far easier. But whatever. Um, yeah, maybe I'll do a story time on it at some point because it is a thing, um, to be working at a pizza place. Dream job. It depends. There's kind of two tracks. There's like the like dream job, which is like I know isn't super realistic as doing YouTube. But then my more like realistic like actual career path plan is right now I'm thinking middle school science teacher, which is oddly specific and like but something that I actually think I would like do quite well with and actually kind of enjoy, because middle school is when you really need a good teacher to like a good teacher is not someone who like teaches you all the material better. It's someone who like just is understanding and like adapts and does fun things. So that's kind of my more realistic dream job. So we'll see in the next like 5 years of schooling which dream job ends up happening, or it might be something completely different. Like I don't know. I've thought so many different things over the course of like like me being like an idiot child and thinking of like all the like I want to be an astronaut. Um, and then it kind of like adapted into more reasonable things, and then for a long time I was thinking business, and then kind of like a combination like business agriculture, and now it's kind of like middle school science teacher. It's like that is a clear path on something that the world needs. Podcast host. It's my general advice, I said this earlier, is like just you know especially with something like a podcast, like you can totally do that on your own, um, and like promote it, like try it out. Like my dad actually does a podcast, and it's like he's not very consistent with it. It has like a very small following. Like that's totally like a very legit thing to do. And it's like we all need our unrealistic dream jobs. Like my mom isn't super on board with the YouTube, not in the sense that she hates that I'm doing YouTube, but she doesn't like how much I'm actually like putting into it. Like she doesn't love that I'm like I'll be talking to her about analytics, and she's like I don't care. And like meanwhile like my dad is just like Whimsy like YouTube video. Like I've um can't pronounce an R sound. I can't like roll my R's. You could do a podcast in your native language. Um, there's also like definitely like teaching a language, or like bilingual podcasts. Like there's a lot of niches that you could work with rather than just like it has to be an English podcast for anyone to like watch it. Like pretty much in any language. It's like I'm sure there are some people who would find it interesting, and also like that can just be like an interesting quirk of like unless you're gonna do a podcast talking about squirrels, it's like I don't think a ton of people would care a whole lot. I don't know. It's something to test out. But you'd be surprised what can be like overcome, or what people don't end up caring about at all. Of like interest in quality things. So like YouTube, it's like people think like, okay, you need like a really like fancy camera and like a really nice mic. You need to have like perfect presentation, and it's like nah. It's like the kind of the like 100 terrible videos thing of like you're like put out 100 videos and they're gonna be bad. Of like I literally use my phone and free software. I have like a tiny like clip-on like $7 ring light that I got as a gift. I'm using the microphone on my phone. I edit in 720p because the editor will not let me use the full like 1080 I think that my phone will record. But it's like there's so much you can do with just that. Like like what do you have to lose? Like a little bit of time. But it's like I just have weird things like I can't pronounce right. It's like native English speaker. I have no excuse. But there's just like weird things of like I'll pronounce my th's wrong, and I've just never quite been able to fix it. Like my family will make fun of me because of how I pronounce like Earth because I just can't say it right. But it's like like people don't really. It's not something people really notice. It's like except for like Earth is kind of the only one that people notice that I like pronounce weird. But that's really just my family, and that's like with. I've done a ton of speech stuff in like middle school. I did speech for 3 years. I ended up not doing it in high school because it got like a lot more serious, and it's like I don't want to like go to state and have a bunch of people judging me. So I decided to not continue with it. But that is a very good life skill is doing speech. Yeah, just like doing a podcast, even if it's just for practicing your presentation, would seriously like help because that's a general thing of like life skills of presenting is so important pretty much no matter what your career is. Like everything from like top level CEOs to like customer service and like literally fast food. It's like learning how to present is somehow helpful in like my like basic fast food job because you need to like project when you're wearing masks, like you need to communicate with customers. Any other future plans? I am ignoring that the future exists at the moment. 2020 is 2020 was 2020, and I feel like 2021 is not going to be much better. So the future plans at the moment are just kind of continue on with school as makes sense. Doing YouTube, seeing if I can like grow that into an actual potential thing. And then just kind of following school as what makes sense and kind of like real life normal plan. Right now, I am going through the process of signing up for PSEO for my senior year. I also need to get my driver's license because I'm kind of running behind on that. And if I'm going to do PSEO, then I kind of need a driver's license because I kind of need to be able to get there. So that's kind of the main plan. It is weird because like part of me has like big plans for the future, and part of me is just like, yeah, like there's too many variables. So yeah, I don't quite have a plan, but kind of a PSEO. I can't remember what I think it's like post-secondary options is what it stands for. It basically means filling out paperwork so that the district will pay for your college classes, and then you can go to a select number of like community colleges. And so basically it's if you fill out the paperwork, then the state will pay for college as if it's high school education. And I figured doing normal college classes would probably be easier / like better for me in general than doing the AP and CIS type classes, which I would probably end up doing next year if I was not doing PSEO. I need to grab my water. Yeah, it is weird of like they give you like very minimal guidance. Like I had to sign up for regular classes and they didn't tell us like if you're gonna do PSEO you need to like check this class for your extra like non-credit classes, and it's like that's important. Like, let me fix that quick. Well, government will pay for your college. Then why so many Americans have big colleges? Oh, because PSEO you can do if you're really ambitious, maximum 2 years. If you're like really ambitious and really on top of stuff, generally it's just a few people do it their first year of college during their senior year of high school, and then you still have 3 more years to get a 4 year degree. But college debt is a big issue. I think a lot of it. First off, I think there are a lot of people who go to college who probably shouldn't, and I don't say that to be like mean, of because I don't think everyone thrives in college or the kind of career that you need to go to college to do. Um, I think a lot more people should go into trades, because I think a lot of people who end up going to college and getting a corporate job would really thrive in the trades, and you can like school is a lot cheaper because you go to a community college for like 1 or 2 years, and you can like make a lot of money. You're contributing a lot to society, kind of like the like fulfillment. Like you make a lot of money. Like a lot of things people aspire to do for jobs. The only difference is there's a bit less glamour to it. But it's like, well, you don't have like a ton of debt that you have to pay off. It's like if you're a plumber, you can get paid like a lot, and then you can probably retire earlier because you're not paying off a ton of debt. It's like, sure, it wasn't glamorous, but it's like people need plumbers. Like plumbers make a lot of money. You get your fulfillment when your job is done. Your job is done. There's a lot of good things to be said for trade jobs, and then with college debt, it's also that so many careers that really don't require a college degree, which is kind of frustrating. It's like on-the-job training should also be way more prevalent. It's like there are some things where you should absolutely go to college. It's like I do not want my like a doctor to have not gone to college. I don't want like my teachers to have not gone to college. But there's also a lot of things like, do you like for business and stuff? It's like that could very much been like business could very much be just based on a like a course rather than an entire college degree, depending on or that's kind of a bad example because that's a lot more like mathematical, but like there's just a ton of things like advertising and design. It's like, sure, like a degree might help, but should it really be required? Because on the job training in a lot of things is so much more powerful than a degree. It's like a degree in food service would not help me nearly as much as like a week of on the job training for like my current job. And so like it'd be really dumb of them to require a degree. Your grandfather was a plumber? Yeah, I say, that's just a good example of a trade. Like, 2 of my cousins are mechanics. Like, my family is generally quite, like, DIY-esque. Though, I think they're the only ones actually in trades at the moment. But yeah, like, trade jobs are super, like, good, and it's weird, because it's, like, it's kind of, like, frowned upon in society. It's, like, like my 2 cousins are mechanics. Like they are like young, they don't have crap ton of debt, they get to drive fancy cars, which to them matters. To me would like not matter at all. But like they can drive fancy cars, they fix fancy cars, and like there's a lot of if you're someone who can geek out about any like trade type thing of like electrical, plumbing, appliances too. Sorry. Like any of those things. Like trades are a great thing. By the Menards, the Menards song, which is plumbing, electrical, appliances too. The savings will always come right back to you. Like, save big money when you shop Menards. That is like the anthem of the Midwest. Like, because in their stores they'll play that, and it's I don't know why it's like Menards is just a big part of Midwest culture, and I can't explain it, but it's a very interesting. It's a like kind of fun place to go. It's not like going to the mall. It's like going to the mall for the kind of people who do DIY projects, where you're just like, ooh, like what vinyl plank flooring would be the best. Um, Last time I did electrical, I got killed by an imposter. Then maybe that's not the best career choice. Yeah, DIYing electrical is a bit like scary to me. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave that to the professionals. In general, like with DIY type stuff, like I've done a little bit. Like I'm quite a like crafty person, but I do not mess with like plumbing or electrical or anything that if it breaks, it will be catastrophic. Um, it's the kind of stuff like if it breaks, you have to fix it. Where I'm like, if it breaks, you have to fix it right now. Um, but yeah, like DIYing is just such a fun thing of like, and it's just a really good way to save money. It's like there's a ton of like debt, and I feel like it's part of it as a consumer culture in America. And it's like there are so at least it's getting a bit less necessary. It's like stuff like thrifting has become a lot more popular. It's like I like thrift all the time. Like I'm pretty minimalistic for most of my stuff, but it's like clothes. Almost everything is thrift. Like yes, that's why. Yeah, I'm not sure you just become the Flash. I think if you get shocked by electrical, then that's not good. Um, but thrifting has just gotten more like popular in general, which I think is I don't know. Like part of me doesn't really like it because it means other people will take the good stuff before it gets to the stores. But it's like that's good because it's good for the environment. It's good fiscally. It also encourages companies to make higher quality stuff. Kind of. I don't know. I generally don't like the idea of fast fashion and the kind of like disposable things because like okay it's cheap but you could also get a used thing that's so much higher quality and it's like that's just way better of like a lot of the fast fashion stuff I think is like usually quite either very low quality and or is made using unethical labor, which is which could still happen with thrift finds, but I feel like that's not as bad because it's something that would have been like thrown out and instead you're using it again. Um, but yeah, that's just I don't like fast fashion, um, and I just generally find it kind of crazy of like some people will just buy really expensive clothes. I'm like that is like a lot more than I like. That's a lot more than I would pay for something. It's like if it's more than a couple bucks, I'm probably not gonna buy it. I have the only exception to my like thrift store stuff is I will occasionally get like event things. Like this is kind of like an event hoodie. This is from my youth group, and then I have like one, and and then I have like some like t-shirts and stuff. But I generally don't pay much. Best career choice to be forgetful. That's my the best career choice is just be a politician. Um, I don't. It's funny. I don't know. I'd either be a really good politician or I'd be an absolutely horrible politician. Um, because I think I have like quite a few like good ideas, but I also think that I would try and like please everybody. Cause I always try and find compromises, so I no party would actually take me. I'd have to be third party because that's just the kind of person I am. It's like I'm always trying to find compromises, which with any polarizing topic, it tends to not make like I tend to look bad whenever I share my opinion on a polarizing topic, because it's like, uh, like if you take something like anti-vaxxers, it's like okay, it's like I'm not like, and I'm just kind of trying to find a middle ground. It's like, well, I can understand. And then people are like, how dare you say that not everybody should be vaccinated with every vaccine all the time? It's like, well, I'm just saying. And it's like, well, what about this and this and this? And so I'm always trying to relate the two sides. So no political party would ever actually want me because I would just be like terrible. It's like I'm too conservative for the Democrats. I'm too democratic for the conservatives. I'm just like, I just want everybody to be in a better world. No, I mean everybody, not just this party, the other party as well. It's like I want them to be happy as well. Um, which I feel like is what we need in politics, is we need people to come up with more agreements. But no, no political party actually wants to lose any ground. Don't try and please everybody. um, yes, that's true. It's of not trying to please everybody, and it's not. I don't know. I'm not quite the like people pleaser in the like I will absolutely like destroy myself in order to make everybody happy. It's like I am quite like there are some opinions I am quite like solid on. Like nope, I like this is my opinion and you cannot change it. Um, but yeah, it's like I think finding agreements is something we need in society. But you are right that you cannot please everybody because yeah, it's like if you I'm trying to think of like if you know do whatever. Like some people will say it's too extreme, and some people will say it's not extreme enough. So no matter what you do, someone will be angry because there's an overlap in the anger. Uh, so and that's something I kind of like accepted of like before like publishing my first video of like okay there's like two possible outcomes, either no one's gonna watch it or or a very small number of people are gonna watch it or someone's gonna not like it. And that's just kind of life of like either any opinion, it's like either you don't share it and like people are happy with it, or you just like you do share it and someone doesn't like it. Well, an hour and 15 minutes. Oh, thank you. um yeah, time does fly conversationally. I've experienced that. Like like a while back, I went on a 5-hour Discord call with my friends, and I was like, "Wait, it's been 5 hours." We were just talking about so much stuff. Um, I realized I might this might actually live streaming might actually be a better option than I originally planned, because there's just enough like conversational prompts to continue on a new tangent constantly. Because it's weird. I am like the weirdest person to talk to. My conversations always go in such a weird direction. Like I'll be talking with a borderline stranger, and it's like we won't like know each other's names. Like we won't know like any random like type of trivia of like oh like how close are you, and then we'll just be talking about like some like super like deep thought of like oh like how can we like how can we increase the number of people who are like happy in society or something. And we'll just be talking about these like really deep important topics, and I'll like go home and be like oh I was talking with it's like oh what was their name, it's like I never got their name, like I don't know who I was like who was it, it's like I know their face, like I know their deepest trauma, but I don't know their name. And that's just how I hold conversations. It's the weirdest thing. um like I generally it's funny like my family is gets kind of irritated with it because I never like know people's names. It's like I will never like ask what someone's name is. So then we'll like talk for like an hour, and then like the next time I just like see them, and then it just gets more and more awkward to ask what their name is, and so it's like I just never know. And then it just feels like you're living a lie until you hear one of their friends say their name, and you're like, ah, yes, I shall pretend I knew that the entire time. Or Schoology stalking, where you're just like, okay, so we have this class together, and I'm gonna scroll through all the photos until I find them, and then, oh, that's their name, okay. And like, yeah, it does it is kind of interesting. Of like I love having deep conversations of actually like hearing people's opinions. Um, where it's great as long as you're talking with someone who actually like if you're kind of conversing and not quite arguing. um I don't want to say your name because I'm probably gonna absolutely like butcher it. Okay, so Christo, so like Christo, am I anywhere close on that? um Yeah, that is one con of the Schoology stalking method, is then you still have no clue how to pronounce their name. I think part of that is that at least like I have a very like weird, I have quite a weird name, and so It's like I just live in a world like as long as you're like close. It's like, do you have a nickname? It's like kinda. It's like this channel I just decided I'm like CJ. It's like I will accept any nickname as long as it's like reasonably respectful. Like as long as your nickname is not like that stupid girl from English class or something. It is kind of funny if like if pronounce the H like you. Okay, so like Hawaii. Okay, so Christo. I'm probably not gonna. It's it's not me trying to be mean. I am just not good at visually trying to like. I need to hear it, which unfortunately is kind of hard to do in chat. Um, like when teachers are like, okay, like spell your name phonetically. Oh yay! Yeah, like spell your name phonetically, and it's like I part of me, I feel like it's kind of revenge towards all the kids who have like very common names. It's like, how do you spell Dave phonetically? And it's like, it's Dave. Like, how do you spell phonetically? and then it's like all the kids that have like difficult names are like, okay, so it's like this chunk of this word, and then this chunk of this word, and then this chunk of this word. It's like, there you go. It's like, you got it. Or just the like, everyone calls me so and so. It's weird, like having I have like a 3-syllable name, and I never like naturally really got much of a nickname. It's like people are like, what's your nickname? It's like nobody really like uses one like and it's like that's kind of like that's weird. So I'm just like I declare CJ as my nickname. Well, that phonetic oh, D. I read that as an L, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that would just end up phonetically being like delve, which is not, which would not be Dave. Yeah, it is, like, it is kind of funny of just the, like, if you have I think a lot of people with more, like, difficult to pronounce names, you just end up with a, like, acceptable, like, there's the acceptable variance in, like, whenever oh my god, like substitute teachers will be like, if I mispronounce my name, like if I mispronounce your name, like correct me, and then it's like they'll say it wrong like 3 times, and you correct them, and eventually you just give up, like, yep, you got it. It's like, yep, I'm gonna see you for one day. It is not worth it it is not worth it to me to argue on this one. So it is kind of weird of like, if you have a very unique name, it's like I understand that people have been mispronouncing it your entire life, but it's like it's not the person trying to learn your name's like fault. So it's like give them some grace. My language, you speak everything exactly how you spell it. Yeah, if only English was like that. Yeah, that is one advantage of like learning Spanish is like at least everything's phonetic, or at least for the most part, most of the spelling is phonetic. What is your first language? Let me wait for the chat latency. Yeah, there are a lot of languages out there that make more sense than English, but for some reason English is like the dominant language. That's because England took over everything. Yeah, I've heard Bulgarian, though I have never like actually heard the language. So yeah, that is kind of unique. You could be the like the first. I'm sure probably not the first, but a big, become the most famous like Bulgarian podcast. Yeah, it is such an interesting thing. Like languages are just such a like window into culture, and then meanwhile in America we're just kind of like it's like who cares? Oh, interesting. Like, I think there's some chart, and I don't think it was like actually accurate, but it was the like average languages known in different areas. Like most countries, it was like 1 point something or like 2 point something or like three, and then it's like America, it was like 0.7, and it's like okay, hold on, it's like are we including infants in this? It's like I'm pretty sure most Americans at least know English. That being said, not many know a second language. It's like in America, people will think it's like, okay, I made it to Spanish 5, that means I'm bilingual. And then in other countries, they're like, oh, it's like I'm not fluent, and it's like they're perfectly fluent, and then they just like don't know like some random like idioms or have some weird like grammatical thing. It's like if you can speak as well as like a native 7-year-old, then like that's where I'm considering it. Like you're fluent. It's like I like unless you're trying to get like some corporate job as a translator, it's like as long as like if you're as fluent as a 7-year-old, it's like that's as much fluency as you need. Uh, so that was that's kind of my goal. It's like if I can get as good at Spanish as like a I'd settle for like as good as like a native 4-year-old. It's like what like like that's fine. Like that's a lot of vocabulary. It's like people can understand. Um, so that is kind of just an interesting thing of like my grandparents go to Mexico and they don't know like any Spanish, and it's kind of like you'd think if you did a trip every year that you would learn them. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the content. I'm trying to make content that people like. We'll see how it goes. Um, yeah, I love getting like feedback on different things. We'll see how long it takes before I get like a load of negative feedback. I got my first thumbs down because I was kind of like baiting a bunch of trolls in a different comment section where there were a ton of people like spamming hate comments, so I just wrote a comment. It's like, hey, so I noticed most of you are like really small channels, so like if you need to pick on someone your own size, it's like I understand like they're big YouTubers, they're not responding to you. Like if you need to pick on someone your own size, like I'm here, like I'll read your comments. And then there was just like one thumbs down, and my analytics were like thumbs down more often than normal, and I'm like, oh really? Given that normal is 0, because it's only like my 5 friends watching. Um, so yeah, that is one thing of like the like being positive. It's weird because I can be quite a like weird, stressed out person all the time, but I can also make normally negative things into a positive of kind of like when you're trying to reach more people, when you encounter opposition, like that's a good thing. Like it's not pleasant, but it's a good thing because it means you've encountered someone with a contrasting opinion. And so that's like one thing I kind of think of like okay, like it means you're getting outside of your own bubble and your own echo chamber because we all have our own bubbles, and it's like it's good to try and get out of that of like I was reading for English, we had to watch a video about like fake news. And one of their pieces of advice is like, once a week, it's like read something you violently disagree with. I'm 8 hours in the future compared to you. Oh, so that would make 9 a.m. still a reasonable time. 10, 6 p.m., 6:30. I can count. I can count quickly. um, well, I normally post in the morning, so at least that's still a reasonable time. I was thinking of like, oh, like is 9 a.m. early? It's like, is everyone gonna be sleeping in? And then there's another live stream at like 8. I'm like, okay. so yeah, I'm glad that time frame is still in a reasonable time zone. That's good. But it is just interesting of like occasionally like just read something you violently disagree with, of like find the most ridiculous thing of someone being like murder is okay and here's why, or like whatever random political theory you really hate, and just kind of try and understand it. And then occasionally you just really encounter some really interesting stuff. Like I was thinking of the whole like mask debate, and I was like, okay, like why wouldn't you wear a mask out in public? Like it's not that hard. Like it's like why? And I realized it's like well, some people truly, first off, there's people who think it's not effective, and it's like, okay, it's like, but still, it's like, it doesn't really bother you that much. It's like, why is it such a big deal? It's like, why can't you just do it? And it's like, like freedom. It's like, okay, but like we sacrifice our freedom all the time. So like, why is it such a big deal? And then I saw a thing of like some people get really like claustrophobic or that kind of reaction, and it's like a stress response. And it's like, oh, like that starts to make more sense. And then when you combine that with the other things of like, okay, so there's an actual like fear involved. And that's not to say like they've completely changed my mind. Uh, yeah, if you kill a killer, yeah, the whole like murder is okay. What's funny is there are weird nuances to that argument of like, well, like the vegans would probably say, like meat is murder. So it, I use that because it sounds like such a ridiculous thing, but then occasionally you actually see some weird nuance in it. But every argument has way more nuance than most people give it credit for, which is why I don't I would make a horrible politician because I would be so bad at like normal like partisan issues of like we should do what's some like I'm trying to think what's some like stupid thing of like that no one would ever think it's legitimate. It's like we should mandate that like Taco Tuesdays must be in every household. It's like I would just be like, well, that's stupid. It's like some households want to do Taco Tuesdays and some households don't want to do Taco Tuesdays, and they you either have to like ban Taco Tuesdays or like make it mandatory. It's like why can't we why can't it just be optional? It's like why? So it's like there's so much like nuance of like it's like okay, like just straight up killing someone in the street. Like okay, that's murder. That's probably not good. It's like, well, what if that person like was had a bomb? It's like, well, then maybe net you're saving lives maybe unless you're wrong. And so there's a lot more nuance to every argument. And that's kind of why like the media cycle is just kind of trash. It's like I don't think it's like if you look at this more complex. Fries Friday. That would be a fun Friday thing. Um, yeah, it's like there's so much like for the school thing of like okay like school's going back to hybrid. It's like lots of people, I think the main reason that we're going back to hybrid is because a ton of people were just like we don't like digital. And it's like okay, like what's the alternative? And then mostly conservatives were like, we need to get kids like back in school, like in person. And then Democrats were like, well, we need the kids to be back, but like, the virus is dangerous, so we can't like actually go back. And so then we ended up with hybrid, which nobody really likes, but it's technically the compromise. It's like, okay, if I can't be happy and you can't be happy, then neither of us get to, like, if we can't both be happy, then like neither of us get to be happy. It's like perfect compromise there. Where it's like, okay, we need to think about this conversation more. Because a ton of people are like, digital isn't good, which I agree. Digital is not ideal. But neither is the entire world situation at the moment. So where do we go from there? Is a big question of like, what do we do from this point onwards? It's like, okay, like we don't like digital, which is like fair, but it's like, is there actually a better alternative? Because because no one's going to agree if we just say, okay, we're going to go back 100% in person, and no one likes digital, so it's like, okay, fine, we just end up with hybrid, which nobody really likes. And it's like, should we go back? It's like, I don't know. It's like, I'm glad I'm not the person who has to make the decisions, because it does get really complicated there are some students that are immunocompromised, or a lot more teachers that are immunocompromised, and even if they're not, you can't just have it wipe through the entire school and have a ton of people be out quarantined. So then you're like, okay, like no quarantine. It's like fine, but you're still gonna have a bunch of people who are sick and dysfunctional, which at least I hope this will normalize actually staying home sick, because I am sure I'm not the only person who set the personal standard of I'm going to school / work. Like, I don't care if I'm sick. It's like, unless I'm puking, it's like, I'm gonna go. And it's like, well, the virus kind of changed that. Because, like, no. Like, if you're coughing, like, stay home for 2 weeks. So hopefully that will kind of normalize of if you have the days, like, you know, you wake up with a headache and coughing and you have a fever, and it's like, okay, like, you stay home, right? And be like, well, it's only a fever of 99, and the school says it's supposed to be a fever of 100. It's like, no, because, or even just, like, colds, because this year was the first year I didn't have a cold for, like, the entirety of winter. It's like, I thought it was just the, like, dry air or something, and it's like, this winter, like, I haven't had a cold. It's like, that increased, like, everything else has been kind of, like, trash, but, like, that particular thing increased my quality of life quite a bit. Like, I can breathe properly, like, amazing. It's like, I don't just have to wait until spring. So there's a lot more nuance to everything, and it's all a mess, and I'm just glad I don't have to make any decisions. And yeah, I mean, I'm getting tossed into a new schedule, but it's like, there are worse things. So I'll probably, oh no, do you use, yes, we do use Fahrenheit. It's been, yeah, so school's gonna be kind of crazy, but whatever. And I'll probably end up doing more YouTube stuff on my non-school days, which should be Monday and Thursday, though I'm not sure about it. I'm kind of gonna have to settle into the new schedule a bit. Yeah, for Fahrenheit, we're getting, like, record cold temperatures. Computer, what's tomorrow's forecast?
Weather alert for Egan. There's a wind chill warning in effect Sunday, February 14th from 12 a.m. to 11 a.m. Here's the forecast for tomorrow. Look for cold temperatures, with a high of -7 degrees Fahrenheit and a low of -21 degrees.
Yeah, high of -7, low of -20. Computer, what is -7 in Celsius?
-7 degrees Fahrenheit is equivalent to about -21.7 degrees Celsius.
So minus...
Did that answer your question?
Yes. So high of -21 Celsius.
Thanks for your feedback.
So yeah, it's gonna be a vibe going to work tomorrow. At least it probably won't be that busy. So I've got that going for me. But yeah, it was so nice. It was, like, nice temperature, and then it's, like, getting so cold we're all gonna die. Why is he done? Oh yeah, I use computer as I use it as the I woke her up. I've awoken. Yeah, I don't use Alexa. Siri is not a wake word because I use the Amazon Alexa. My sister uses the Echo keyword, and then the one upstairs uses Alexa. So we all use different wake words, which means occasionally I will try and summon one of the devices with the wrong wake word. Because yeah, we got Echo Dots for Christmas, like, last year. So, like, not this past Christmas, the year before that. Which they're pretty nifty. They're really nice for, like, music and stuff. And I always, like, set my alarm, so yeah, it is kind of fun of just I do kind of like that particular wake word that I'm not gonna say, because then she'll awaken again, because it feels more like fun. Yeah, the mad scientist vibe is a slight vibe. Yeah, it is fun with the alarms. It's like, it's great as long as you're someone who doesn't shut off your alarm in your sleep, which luckily I don't. I'm, like, actually a decent morning person. That being said, my classes are going to be at 7:30 again instead of 9, which I'm not looking forward to, because that means waking up at, like, 5 a.m. instead of 7. But such is life. Building robots trying to defeat the giant reptile. Yeah, it is. Oh, I'm not super tech savvy. For a while, I tried to do all of the routines and whatnot, and then I just gave up on that. It's like, nah, I use like 3 functionalities. Like, I don't do many fancy things. I had a light, except I kept turning off the switch, and so then it wouldn't work anymore. So yeah, I just like it's pretty much just alarms. I've turned off all my alarms, so I need to remember to turn them back on for Monday. Because I'm sure that would make such a wonderful impression of how. Or wait, no, not Monday, not Monday. We get Monday and Tuesday off because it's a long weekend. Woo. Uh, yeah, I'm looking forward to the long weekend. Except I have to do like calculus, so that's gonna be. I'm so looking forward to doing a bunch of calculus. Though I think that's most of my homework. Probably some calculus, some history, normal homework things. One thing about digital, my teachers do not respect that we have days off. They will make a test assigned on Saturday and due on Sunday. I've had to take tests over the weekend. I've had to like do assignments like entirely over the weekend. It's kind of like teachers, I don't think you understand. That's not how it's supposed to work. Like, teachers, can you not? But I mean, I tend to spread out my workflow anyway, so it doesn't really matter because I tend to do a bunch of homework on the weekend. But it is kind of like I don't want anything to be assigned over the weekend. It's like, why? Like, it costs you nothing to assign it Friday morning or make it due Monday night, but no, it has to be assigned Saturday morning and due Sunday night. It's like, why? Like, one of my teachers makes everything due the night after the lecture, which is frustrating because it's the same nights I normally would like work, so it's kind of like I know it's due midnight, but that's not like as much time as it's kind of supposed to be. Like, normally it would just be due the next class period, and the fact that the class periods are on different days but the assignments are the same nonetheless makes it kind of tricky. So yeah, lucky me, I get to do calculus over the weekend, and figure out all the school things. So yeah, and I'm also editing. I'm working on editing like a channel trailer, and I'm trying to make it just like really good. And I don't know. I might release it like next Saturday, or I might just release it when I'm like very confident in it being as good as it's gonna be. Because part of me is like, oh, I want to get the like view velocity, and part of me is like, it's not gonna matter anyway. What is calculus? Calculus is math that was created by the devil. No, it's the main thing for calculus is to find the area under a curve is like the main goal of calculus. The problem is it takes you about 6 months in order to get to that point. But it's really just to find velocity and then acceleration and then area under a curve and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's not very necessary. Like, honestly, as a like mathy person, like I think math can generally stop at like algebra 2 and like everyone would just be fine. We call it high mathematics. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's it is. I guess it's kind of like, yeah, it's necessary for some things, but I think it shouldn't be. You shouldn't end on pre-calc for like school, because that's basically how U.S. education usually ends, is you end on pre-calc. But since I was way accelerated, I'm going to end on Calc AB, even though hypothetically I should go on to another class, but I'm not going to because I'm already in Calc AB, and hopefully I will pass the AP test. Yeah, stats is way better. That's like when I don't know what the equivalent would be, but that's fun. Is like learning how to see statistics. You learn a lot about it. So I should probably release you to go on to your life, and I need to work on some homework and stuff. So I'm gonna end the stream pretty soon. I don't want to end it like right this second because I don't trust the latency to just be like, like bye. But I'm gonna head out. It was really fun like chatting with you guys. I think I will do another stream in the future. I'm not quite sure when, but I'll try and like schedule it out once I have an idea. Though probably at some point. So bye.